Hey, I'm Mason. Welcome to the channel. Today is January 21st, 2022, and I just got my HP Reverb G2 in the mail, and I figured it'd be a good idea to do a video now because I'm thinking other people are probably going to be in the same boat as I was in choosing a VR headset for a couple of reasons. One, the GPU market is changing. It seems like more people are getting their hands on these hard-to-get GPUs. I actually recently got one. That's one of the reasons that I decided to go out and buy a VR headset. Lots of talk of the metaverse in the news today. And also, this comes after HP did their update to the Reverb G2. So in the update in late 2021, they reported to have improved some of the tracking issues that really plagued early adopters of the Reverb G2. Some other things they supposedly fixed was the compatibility issues with some of the hardware. Specifically, AMD hardware wasn't as compatible with some of the different types of video cards that people were using with the Reverb G2. So I figured this comes at a good time when other people might be considering this headset just like I was. So I ultimately decided to choose this headset for a few different reasons, but the biggest one obviously is the price. So the Reverb G2 I was able to snag for $450 US on HP's website. They were doing a pretty good sale. So it oftentimes goes on sale for about $500. So that puts it just $100 or $200, depending on which version of the Quest 2 you might be looking at. More expensive than that, and quite a bit less expensive than something like the Valve Index, which will run you $1,000. So in choosing this, certainly I found the Index to be pretty enticing with the clearly better controllers and the higher refresh rate, but I ultimately decided this, and this is kind of the video to see if I'm going to think that this is a good thing that I would recommend you purchasing. All the headsets have pros and cons, whether it be refresh rate, which is one of the downsides of this compared to the other main three that I would consider, the Index, the HTC Vive Pro 2, and I'm going to include a table that we can look at when we're kind of going over some of the differences between the different headsets. I think it's challenging to figure out just from reviews alone if this is going to be a good headset. Different users' mileage varies pretty significantly from the reading that I did. Some people have worse reliability with different headsets, so it's pretty challenging to judge just on reviews alone which one you might be wanting to buy. So I am making this video before I've even opened the headset. So this will be a first impression, and we'll see if this is any good. So you'll see in the table here a couple of the key differences that I wanted to highlight. So the first one we can go over is the price. So like I was saying, this is going to be positioned above the Quest, but I think for most enthusiast PC users, you're going to be looking at either the HP Reverb G2, the Steam Valve Index, or the HTC Vive Pro 2. So this one's positioned pretty significantly below something like the Index, which is the full set. And the Vive Pro 2 really doesn't come with the different components you would need to function right out of the box. It does sell as a full kit, but that'll run you about $1,200. A lot of people that get the Vive Pro 2 wind up just getting the Index controllers, which seem to work pretty well with that setup, but that still is a pretty expensive bundle compared to something like this, and even a little more expensive than the Index. One of the other big differences is the refresh rate. So this is one of the things I plan to talk about more in this video, but the Reverb G2 only has a 90 Hertz refresh rate, whereas the other ones are pushing 120 Hertz, and the Index even has an experimental 144 Hertz refresh rate, so significantly better for the other two. Another big difference is obviously going to be the controllers, and that's one of the things that many users have said is something that they are not super keen about with the G2. So I will let you know what my experience is with these controllers, because this will be my first impression. And the last one, and one of the other reasons that I chose this one, is the resolution. So you can see from the table, this has significantly better resolution than something like the Valve Index, and just a little worse than the Vive Pro 2. And from my reading, it seemed like many users found the Reverb G2 and the Vive Pro 2 to be pretty comparable, other than things like field of view and refresh rate. So I'm hoping I'll have the same experience with this. So I wanted to focus this review on a couple key features that I wanted to be a little bit more critical for, so that you can see if this is something that you might be wanting to purchase as well. I think it's important to say this is going to be my first VR headset that I've purchased myself. So I've never used the Valve Index, so I think I might be a little more generous with some of the critiques of this, because I won't have something like the good tracking of the Valve Index to compare it against. But I will try to be as critical of it as I can. I will be taking a very close look at the controller tracking, and I'm just going to let you know my real opinions of it and how I fare, especially as somebody that's using this for the first time. I typically game on a higher refresh rate monitor, so I do think that I can notice a difference between something like 60 hertz and, definitely 120. So 90 hertz, I don't know if that's something that's going to make a difference for me, but that's something I plan to pay a little more attention to. And the last thing I wanted to focus, and this might just be kind of specific to me, but the pupillary distance. So I have a pupillary distance of 58. I just have a narrower PD is the abbreviation for that. And this one only goes down to 60, where the other two main headsets can accommodate PDs down to 58. So I'm thinking within 2 millimeters I should do okay with this one, but I will just have to see. So I've included my PC specs below, and as you can see from my PC specs, I would consider my PC to be a pretty average build for somebody that's interested in VR gaming in 2022. So we'll see how that performs with this as well. And you can also see that most of my hardware is AMD, so I'll see if I run into any compatibility issues. So from what I've been reading, it doesn't look like much has changed with the box of the Reverb G2, so I'm just going to do a quick unboxing. We'll see what's included in the package, and then we'll get right into the review. All right. Okay. Okay, little user manual here. Looks like just scan the QR for a quick setup. Okay, so let's just get this guy out of here. All right, a little nicer looking than the box that it shipped in, which is nice. Let's open this here. Okay, so here is the headset, and it comes in this nice felt feeling bag. And I gotta say, my first impression, I'm really impressed at how light this is. They do have some plastic shielding over the lenses. We'll just peel that off. See that right there. That looks nice. Very cool. And on the bottom, you can see this is the pupillary distance adjustment. This material here that goes on the front and the back feels very comfortable. It almost feels cool to the touch. And then the speakers are supposedly the same as the ones on the Valve Index, and those seem to be pretty well reviewed, so I'm also excited to kind of check that out and see how it works. So let's set this off to the side, see what other cords are included in this. Okay, what is this? Obviously the controllers. So this is one. It's got some plastic on one of the pads here. I'll take that off later. I won't waste your guys' time with that. And the other one. So I wouldn't say this feels cheap, but as far as controllers go, it doesn't feel super premium either, but not bad. Nothing feels, loose. So yeah, we'll check that out as we play it. And then the last box here, box within a box, has probably the cords, I'm assuming. All right. So several different cords here. This one, USB-C. Okay, so that looks like that's plugging into this box here. So I'm assuming that's probably going to plug into the headset. We've got power. Okay, some batteries for the controller. That's always nice when they include that. Okay, cool. Yeah, so I think that pretty much covers it here. I don't know if you guys care to see more than that, but yeah, we'll just get right into the review from here. So, okay, so I'm back. It's been about 3 weeks, and I've been really enjoying this headset. Wow. So like I said, I've had about 3 weeks to play around with it with as much time as I've had in my free time. I mostly played Blade and Sorcery, Creed, Rise to Glory, and Half-Life Alyx, and really this thing performed outstanding in all 3 titles. So I want to go over a couple of the things that I addressed at the front of the video, just to kind of answer how I felt after a few weeks of playing, sometimes almost 4 hours in one sitting. So the first thing, I think really one of the biggest benefits of a system like this, where you don't have the light boxes to set up, is the ease of setup was just terrific. This thing really was plug and play with my setup. I did watch the YouTube video that came with it, but that was really about a couple minutes, and once you started plugging it in, my computer really did most of the legwork at that point. And again, because you don't have any light boxes to set up, this thing really just walks you through all the steps of letting the headset recognize the controllers, and really, especially for somebody that's just kind of first getting into VR, I really don't think it could have been much easier. So I thought that was really great. One of the other concerns I had with this, because it's not using the light box settings, was the controller tracking. And there were a couple times where, especially if you were reaching behind the back to put, like in Half-Life Alyx, that's when you would be reaching for ammunition. That was the only time where it sort of kind of lost it, but once you brought it into your view, it quickly caught it, and I was really surprised at how accurate it kept up with these, especially for some of the shooting scenes during Half-Life Alyx. I thought it was incredible. Honestly, I was pretty blown away by it. So, yeah. And again, I'm skewed. I haven't tried the Valve Index controllers, and I'm sure they're better. But really, again, for this type of setup, I thought it was really terrific. Another thing that really just blew me away with this setup was the resolution and the sound. It's just something you have to experience. It is incredible looking through these lenses. And the sound has the exact same speakers as the Valve Index. And because they don't sit exactly on your head, the immersion and just the sound quality I thought was really spectacular. And one of the concerns I had, again, with this headset was the slightly lower refresh rate at 90 hertz compared to the 120 hertz compared to some of the competition. And really, I didn't notice it. With Half-Life Alyx and the boxing, it was really pretty smooth. So, I'm sure everybody's mileage and sensitivity to that will vary, but I thought it would be a problem for me, and really it wasn't an issue at all for me. So again, I thought it was pretty spectacular. You'll have to try it for yourself, but I really wasn't bothered by it too much. And I think one of the last things that I was kind of concerned about, and this is just me personally, is the PD. So again, I have a narrow pupillary distance, and this only goes to 60, and again, I have a PD of 58. And after even several hours of gaming, I never felt dizzy, I never felt nauseous, and I never had any double vision. It was important that I positioned this close enough to my eyes and not too far away either, to really kind of find that sweet spot. And I'm going to get into that as kind of one of the negatives I also found with this headset, but I'll get into that in just a sec. So the last thing I thought was pretty cool about this headset, and also one of the things that I didn't like about the headset, was the Windows mixed reality. So this is something that I don't think is avoidable at this time with the Reverb G2. There is a way to bypass it if you're playing exclusively Steam games, but it is always running in the background. So, it's kind of integrated as part of this system for good or for bad. So I actually kind of liked the little setup that you get. So you enter into your own kind of personal place, and there's a couple different settings that you get to choose from, and it's customizable. You can kind of walk around it, and really, again, for somebody that's experiencing VR in depth for the first time, I thought it was pretty cool. But now kind of getting into the negatives, I also thought some of the things with the Windows mixed reality were pretty cumbersome. So I thought navigating through to get to some of the settings that I wanted really weren't that streamlined feeling. It was kind of clunky, and I couldn't find some of the apps that I was trying to load. So again, maybe your experience will kind of vary with that, but I wasn't a huge fan of navigating through the settings. And also, there's lots of areas apparently that you can customize with it, like you can hang portraits and photos in it. And this too, just navigating to find what you wanted, I found to be honestly kind of irritating. So again, there's a way to bypass that if you just want to jump straight into Steam, but it's still running in the background. So, it's really part of this system, like it or not. Another one of the gripes I had with this headset, and this is probably something you're going to run into with most corded headsets, this clip, if you can see it on the back here, so that's where the cord runs from this front plug-in, and then again, it runs through this clip, and then it's supposed to hang over the back of you, and that's supposed to kind of keep it out of the way. This clip, especially if you're standing up and moving around, this thing popped off on me several times, and especially when you've got these attached to your hands, you're in the middle of something, it is really irritating to take it off, freeze everything, clip it back on, and then get resituated. Once I kind of got used to how far I could move with it before it would pop off, I ran into it a little less, but honestly, I found it pretty annoying. And maybe there's a better solution, but this is what it comes with, and it is what it is with that. And also, as you're kind of turning around, this is probably, again, a problem with most corded VR headsets, but I was getting myself wrapped up in the cord quite a bit. Now, my space for this is kind of small, just given the layout of my house, but I'm sure other people are going to run into that too. And the last thing that I wanted to mention is just kind of a negative with this. Although the picture quality is terrific, there really is a sweet spot in the lenses. So HP worked to create these Fresnel lenses that really create a fairly good field of vision, but the compromise is if you're looking off center, you're gonna notice this distortion. And you spend most of your time looking straight ahead, and if you try to think about it, you're gonna notice it, but that's just one of the downsides with this. So really, it's kind of pick your evil comparing this against some of the other potential screen door effect headsets that you would get otherwise. So I think it's kind of a fair trade-off, but I notice it. I'm guessing you'll probably notice it too. And that pretty much wraps up the negatives that I felt about this. This is really a well-constructed headset. It's super comfortable. You can wear it for hours, and I never got hot or irritated having it on my head for long periods. So really, just to kind of wrap things up, I think for the price, the ease of putting this together, for an entry into computer VR gaming, I think this is great. I really can't recommend it highly enough. I think the pros far outweigh the cons. And for the price, I think it's hard to beat. So I give this one a thumbs up. Try it for yourself. I think it's great. If you can find this on sale like I did, I think this is really quite a steal compared to some of the other ones. So if you enjoyed this video, you know what to do. Like, subscribe. That always helps us out. Other than that, I'll catch you next time.